All right, welcome everybody. This is our second and final fireside chat, aka panel, for the evening here at the Soundmind Music Festival for Mental Health. We are so grateful to have this wonderful array of panelists here, including an intimate performance by Connie, also known as MILCK. So I'm going to kick us off with our moderator, Jenny Crumpton. Jenny's the president and CEO of Kula for Karma. You might have seen their booth downstairs in the beautiful Avena Lounge. They're a nonprofit making mental health a human right by bringing mindfulness-based mental health care to children, teens, and adults facing trauma, addiction, and mental health conditions in marginalized and underserved communities. They are doing amazing, amazing work and bringing all rungs of the mental health field to people in vulnerable populations. So on top of what people often think of as traditional therapy, medication, also the somatic aspect, trauma-informed aspects, and just doing great work. So I'm gonna leave it right there. She's gonna introduce everybody and enjoy this wonderful panel.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for coming to hang out with us for a little bit. This is a panel where we're really going to focus on the intersection of mental health and social justice. So we're happy to have you here for the conversation. Needs no introduction, Connie K. Lim, known as MILCK professionally, is a singer-songwriter and producer who landed on the global stage when her performance of her song Quiet went viral and sparked a worldwide movement. You may have seen her on the ESPYs. They had MILCK sing the song as the survivors of Larry Nassar walked on stage to accept the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. And Billboard named her song the #1 protest song of the year. Welcome.
Thank you.
Veronica Agard is a poet, writer, arborista, community educator, and connector at the intersections of Black identity, wellness, representation, and culture. Through Ancestors in Training, she inspires others to honor their roots, build intentional legacies, and envision brighter futures. Welcome, Veronica. Thanks for being here. And Jessie Roth is a writer, activist, and organizer with a decade of experience at the intersections of mental health and social justice. She is the director of the Institute for the Development of Human Arts, where she has led the development of education, community building, and movement building projects that bridge the perspectives of survivors, peers, practitioners, family members, and artists. Welcome, Jessie. So we're all in this really interesting time right now. The current political climate. You want to make any noises? I heard one over here. Our current climate around immigration, gender identity, abortion, DEI, the disintegration of services and protections, has created an atmosphere of fear, anxiety, anger, and grief. It's based in a strategy of dehumanization that is meant to target our self-worth and our mental health and introduce daily threats and chaos as a way to break down our collective power as a society. We can see it happening, but it's been difficult for us as a society to know how to fight it or to change it. I feel like the mantra over the last few months has been, what can we do? What can we do? So as we witness this imposition of absolute power that many of us have not seen in our lifetimes, we wanted to start a conversation from the perspective of these three amazing women on our panel. So Jessie, we're gonna start with you. Can you kind of set the stage by identifying for us some of the issues that this situation has created for our mental health and in our society? Tell us maybe a little about how various groups of people in our country are being targeted and how it impacts our communities.
Absolutely. People can hear me. Thank you so much for all being here and for the introductions. I think one of the first things that I want to name to begin to answer a very big question with a limited amount of time is that while we are experiencing an escalation in this moment, a lot of what we are living through is not new, particularly for people who are living at the margins. And so I think I want to call in at the beginning of the panel with a lot of like heaviness for the context and the political landscape that we've been here before, something that I've heard from so many people that I organize with, and that there's so much wisdom that lives in our movements and in our ancestors, and we can draw on that power. I think one of the reasons that I'm so glad that this is the topic of the panel, mental health and social justice, is because we cannot talk about mental health awareness, increasing access to mental health services, anything about mental health without talking about how mental health is political and how issues, if we are fighting for housing, for trans liberation, fighting for, against racism and sexism, ableism, discrimination against people who live with disabilities, all of it intersects with fighting to have more access for mental health services. And one example I wanted to give that's kind of close to home for those of us who live here in New York City that just shows why it's so important to fight cross-movement fight, and really giving an example of who is most impacted is people might be aware that over the last couple of years, Mayor Adams has been really criminalizing unhoused people living in the city and trying to sweep people off the street under the guise of quote unquote care. And so this is kind of a policy that is advancing, involuntary commitment against people who are struggling with mental health challenges. And again, the insidious thing is that it's framed as caring, but it really is often about forcing people into quote unquote treatment that isn't what they want, when in the case of this issue, what would really be supportive is people who are unhoused, perhaps just giving people access to affordable and safe housing. And so I think that's just one example that I wanted to bring awareness to. And of course, there's so many others that if my fellow panelists want to speak to, but just wanted to kick off by saying, again, that we've been here before. We need to listen to the wisdom of people who are most impacted by all of these systems of oppression. The wisdom lives within our communities and within our bodies, and that we need to fight a cross-movement fight for sure. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessie. Veronica, intergenerational trauma. Yes. It's an energetic and a physiological imprint of a survival response that's passed through our DNA in reaction to social oppression throughout different eras of history, and creates very real mental health concerns for current generations to overcome. Yet you reveal how ancestral practices can be so healing. How can a political rollback of progress and revival of severe oppression, racism, sexism, etc., like we're experiencing today, pose risk to our mental health, and yet also open opportunities to create new inheritances?
Hello. Okay. Hi, everybody. I love that question because the duality of it is, especially in regards to, I like tangible things, right? Like, especially in this current geopolitical climate, it's like, okay, I need something physical, or I need something that I can grab in terms of something that I can do to help soothe me, right? Like, I think a lot about somatics within that work, right? Like, it's moving energies and moving different things. And for folks that have visited my table downstairs, you've seen some of the palm cards or the postcards that people are receiving. And one of them says, oh, I'm not gonna get it right, of course, now that I have the mic, but one of them says, sweeten your legacy by making room for joy. Not all of your ancestors could. Right? And I think about that a lot, especially within my practice of Ifa or Isheshe. It's an African diasporic or traditional religion or practice. And within that, my Ifa name, which I received in rites of passage, to shorten it, means Ifa Shadun, means Ifa sprouts joy or brings sweetness. And that part of the reason why that was given to me was because I do so much for other people. And that is historically, as a Black woman especially, that is the role that a lot of my people have been in, just because that was what we needed to do, right? Like, I come from a lot of women who did what they needed to do, not necessarily because they went to school for the thing, right? Like, but because they saw a need in their community and they closed the gap that way. And I'm always reminded that the power of that name means like actually make space for the things, right? Like not just talking about in movement culture, like what we want to abolish, get rid of, transform, but actually saying, okay, what are we gonna put there in its place that's a different inheritance, that's a different part of our legacy, right? So if we're talking about intergenerational trauma, we also need to talk about intergenerational healing. If we're talking about, especially in this moment of Sinners, if you have not gone and seen Sinners, please do and report back. Especially in this conversation where there's so much about cultures and what happens when people appropriate them, what happens when people don't, especially within this healing and wellness space, right? It's important to make sure that even within our own healing journeys, we're not causing harm to some of the original stewards of the practices, right? While we're in the name of our own healing, right? Because that's its own type of violence, right? And it's not necessarily something that we can see like with what's happening geopolitically, but it does still happen within our movement spaces. So I think tangible things that people can do is to really think about their legacy in real time and not in a way that inspires fear, especially in this moment where there's enough spooky stuff happening across the board. It's actually to say, okay, with what my role is in the community, what can I do? What's something that I can hold space with people, unpack, not unpack, especially so that way those that come after me see what is possible and then take it forward.
Beautiful. Thank you. Connie, our One Woman Riot. We were talking the other day about how the administration and the Department of Justice have cut millions of grants to victim services, organizations impacting healing services, victim advocacy, violence prevention efforts, saying that these things don't align with their goals and priorities. They're giving guns back to perpetrators of domestic violence and all kinds of things, you know, that we never thought we would see again. Your song Quiet gives a lot of comfort in this time, I think. Made famous, of course, at the 2017 Women's March, and made Billboard's #1 protest song, encouraged women to speak up about their experiences and raising awareness around sexual assault and storytelling and healing. And I'm a survivor of sexual assault too, so I really cherish this moment to be able to hear from you about what is the impact on our mental health when the law and governance that is supposed to protect women and women identifying people and people in general say it's no longer a priority. And how do you as an individual tend to your own mental health in this environment? And what's your vision for the collective way that we should respond?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for sharing about your own story. I think the impact of the fear and the pullback is that there is now an opportunity for survivors to continue to do what we already have been doing, is rallying around each other and unfortunately relying on a lot of mutual aid and like community and coming together. And what other parts of the question?
Yeah. I should have done them one at a time.
No, all good. No.
So as an individual, how are you tending to your own mental health in this environment? Especially as somebody so outspoken.
You know, it's interesting. I feel like I'm outspoken at times, and then at times I'm not outspoken. I feel at times I remain very quiet. And so it's very funny to learn the art of silence when it serves my mental health. And then because there's this quote about how choirs can hold a note abnormally long. They can just hold a note for long amounts of time because some people will drop out and take a breath while others keep holding the note. And so I think as we group together, I have found that like not freeing myself of shame as much as possible and blame for other people and allowing ourselves to find our places in this movement. I've been thinking about how I tend to my own mental health is practicing agency through my own creativity. So it doesn't have to be songwriting. Like for me, that's how it is, because I can go and I can look at words and piece them together and give myself time to understand how I actually feel about something. Because a song is basically an elixir of emotions. And so it takes me hours to actually look at what one feeling is. And so if we can give ourselves some time and grace, but also be honest with ourselves when we are hiding and we're doing too much self-care because we want to just get into that safe thing. Because really the mental health, the goal is so that we can, for me personally, is like, I want to be well here so I can be part of the collective whole, have better conversations, like more honest conversations, hold myself accountable when I cause harm, and have better awareness to know when I cause harm. And it's not shameful, it's just a joyful kind of growing of my neural pathways. Like what else am I not seeing? And that gives me joy. So long story long, I find a way of finding mental health through creation, remembering I can create the story that I'm going to tell myself right now. We're all telling ourselves a story right now about so many things. So you can look at the story and put it to the light and be like, is that true? You know, and expand our awareness, and maybe that could help us connect better with each other. Because I think that's what's going to help us envision better systems and, you know, envision more change, like you are saying. We need to like create new vocabulary with each other and be more playful. Yeah.
I love that idea of being playful during serious times.
Yes.
And that's kind of a form of resistance. You know, what keeps coming up is sort of this embodied creativity and community and the somatics of our mental health, and just knowing that trauma really bypasses our reasoning mind and our brains and, you know, goes straight to the survival space to keep us alive and to keep us fighting. I'd love to just quickly hear from each of the three of you about how you embody into these issues that you're speaking on, and how you can see us really using this time as an education for the generations coming up behind us as women.
I think, well, I'll speak for myself. The writer in me is going to say, especially in this moment where the archives are at risk, like really imagining ourselves as walking archives, and then figuring out ways to make sure that our stories get documented, get held by people who want to hear it or curious about it. We'll treat it with respect. Trying to think, what's another way to embody it, right? Like really speaking to what you just said around finding joy in the midst of it, right? I think it was the Trauma Aware Care Instagram account that, at least the first one that I saw, that said that grief and gratitude can coexist, right? I think so often that we're pushed into either or as opposed to yes and. And I think that this question is really focusing or inviting us to think about yes and when it comes to our own mental health and our wellness around how does it actually look like in the body. So sometimes it can look like if you're upset or you're angry or feeling a range of emotions, actually letting it live in your body long enough for it to tell you what it wants to tell you, but then also, you know, thinking it and letting it go. Especially as science catches up to ancient magic, right? Like the idea from many teachings, and I'm rambling, sorry. Many teachings talk about how grief and anger live in the body, right? And then now science is like, well, actually, indigenous ways of thinking about that have been true the entire time. That's the voice that I hear them when they say that. Talking about how if you don't express your anger, that can metastasize somewhere else in your body, right? And I think that as we continue to see that in the sense of that gap closing, I think it invites us to think about other ways of being and how do we want to be in relation with each other.
Beautiful.
That was really good. Wow. I don't know if I need to say anything.
Woo!
It's actually going to change the song I'm going to do for the performance later. Yeah. Alan knows it. You got it. I would say how I'm embodying it is like on stage today when I performed at the Sound Mind live concert, I like let the feeling of what it actually is affect me to the point where I was crying on stage. And I think right now, I think we're getting too good at putting on a face and putting on a mask to get through our to-do lists and taking care of our loved ones. We're so busy. And yet there's things that our humanness knows and is kind of calling out for and screaming internally. So maybe just gifting myself moments. And I am sitting in my pain more and learning how to be there. So I really agree. So thanks for that. Yeah.
And how I'm embodying it, I have kind of two thoughts that are building off of what you both have shared. The first one is I'm thinking about radical imagination. And Connie, I loved how you invoked Octavia Butler in one of your songs earlier, God is Change. And I've been reading Octavia Butler for the first time, which is a journey and a gift that I recommend to everybody. And I think that she gives, like, science fiction gives us the gift of, as an embodied practice, imagining the world that we are actively creating right now as a way to survive these times. So that's the first thing that I wanted to name. And the second one is what I'm hearing from both of you already about kind of a politicized, we could say, approach to like the conversation about nervous system regulation, as I think often like when we are like maybe feeling not super well or grounded, we might say like, I'm feeling really dysregulated right now, and that can invoke something that can be pathologized. I will speak for myself. If I am not feeling super well or grounded right now, I don't think there's necessarily something wrong with me. I actually think that's a really healthy response to like what's happening in the world around us. So just thinking like even the prefix dys, like dys, that's invoking like a negative, like it's not a good thing. And I just want to invite, I know it's helped me feel like in my somatic practice a little bit more gentle, and you know, just like it's good to notice, okay, like I just tried to shift my language a little bit with the somatics, and what does it really mean? What does dysregulation mean in times like these? So
I love that, because we've actually heard so many instances of in political settings, people being shamed for their mental health when it's completely normal. So thank you so much, everybody. This was such a rich discussion, and we're just going to roll right into Connie and your song.
Take this. Thank you. Great words. I think we'll do Sisters of Winter. Yeah. She talked about like grief and rage. Okay. I was going to do one song, but then the panel really inspired me, and what you shared was really poignant. And I was like, oh, this is the song I want to do. I already performed it on stage, but this song has become a comfort to me. And if you are somatic and it like connects with you, like I just do this, and you'd be surprised how good it feels to kind of just use your fist to softly pound your chest. But this is the pulse of the song. And I'm going to ask you to just like do this for one of the verses as I sing. And then I'll have you just focus on your breath afterwards. If it feels good for you to continue doing this battle cry kind of chest hit, please keep doing so. But here we go. So at this level, it's like just take a deep breath in and exhale. And inhale and exhale. You can keep pounding your chest with me as I sing the first verse. The king's shadow is moving again. Baby, there's blood in the river. Get ready for storms ahead. Call on the sisters of winter. Breathe out, don't keep it in. Grief is a sacred giver. Keep steady and rest your head. At dawn we ride together. All right. And if you're pounding your chest, you can rest that. And then if you don't mind playing just that rhythm here. And the pulse, you can internalize it, either tapping your thigh or your toes, or just like noticing it. You don't have to move your body if you don't want, or you can like kind of sway if you want. But 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the rhythm that we're gonna breathe to. Inhale 2, 3, 4, and hold your breath up there. 3, 4, and exhale 2, 3, 4, and hold your breath down. 3, 4, and inhale 2, 3, 4, and hold your breath up there. Oh, and exhale 2, 3, 4, and hold your breath right there. Let's do it one more time. Inhale 3, 4, and then hold your breath right there. Now exhale and breathe at your own pace. 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 You can keep breathing deeply if it feels good. Or do shorter breaths if that feels good. But maybe notice where your shoulders are at and now your jaw is clenched. Are your brows furrowed? Maybe rolling your neck, rolling your head, or left to right, left to right, left to right. Very nice. Rolling your shoulders, wiggling your toes. Your toes are really good at telling you where you are. You're right here, right now. Let's do the breathing together. Inhale 2, 3, 4, and hold your breath up there. And exhale 2, 3, 4, and hold your breath down there. And inhale 2, 3, 4, hold your breath up there. And exhale 2, 3, 4. And now breathe at your own pace. Breathe at your own pace. Breathe at your own pace. As you listen to the next verse, I sing about rage. The rage that sits in our bodies. Notice you can maybe wiggle your hips or take a deep breath or clench your fists. All right. King Shadow is moving again. Baby, there's blood in the river. Get ready for storms ahead. Call on the sisters of winter. Scream out, don't keep it in. Rage is a sacred giver. Keep steady and rest your head. At dawn we ride together. All right, noticing how you're feeling. I'm going to sing the chorus here where there's a bit of joy. It says, when the sky turns golden, we will ride. And so I wanted to connote like we're resting, but at dawn, when the sky turns golden, which it always does so far, we will ride. And when I say we will ride, who's we? Our community. And that's something I forgot to say in the question is how I somatically heal too is to be next to other bodies and to be talking to other people. Like I'm better around other people. I learn more around other people. People see different things than I do and I heal. So we're doing it right now. So be proud of yourselves. And continue breathing. Notice the pulse. So I'm going to ask you to do the chest pound again. 2, 3, 4. And if you don't want to do that, you can tap your toe or tap your thigh or just notice the rhythm. Just notice us doing it, whatever you want. When the sky turns golden, we will ride. When the sky turns golden, we will ride. For mothers, daughters who have cried. the sky turns golden, we will ride. Come on, May. God is change. Be ready as the water. Inhale and exhale, a deep one. Come on, May. God is change. Be ready as the water. Be ready as the water. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. All right, is that it? Are we closing? And this is the end. Thank you so much.